Good evening. Welcome back to It's a Football Thing. It is Wednesday night. It is our Wednesday night discussion topic. This week, very juicy one, came to us from Robbie, one of his brain children. I will get him to explain it in just a moment. But first, RJ, how are you, buddy?
Look at me. I'm looking and feeling world class. That's all I'll say.
That's it. You've got those stars on the jersey. You're smiling. It is a nice kit. I'll give you that if I give you anything. Robbie, how are you, champion?
Good boys. I'm actually looking forward to this one. I think it is, like you said, quite a juicy topic, and it's very debatable in certain aspects. So let's get stuck into it.
That's right. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell because we're always dropping videos. You don't want to miss out. Robbie, where did this topic come from? You messaged us in the group chat. You said, boys, why don't we talk about what makes a world-class player? Share with us where this topic came from.
Yeah, look, boys, it's an easy one. It's the saying gets used so easily and thrown around these days, and I think it's so easy to say that person is a world class player, and we've grown up in the generation of seeing quite a few world class players that for me are genuinely on that list. And you know, my question is to you guys: what makes a world class player these days? Because sometimes people pay a lot of money and automatically people are like, we've got a world class player because we've paid X amount of dollars, or someone can have a nice little purple patch. This guy's world class. For me personally, I think just a couple off the list. Longevity is a big one, and consistency is another big one. So I'll throw it back to you boys, and let's get this happening.
I like those keywords, longevity and consistency. When I think of world-class players, just to name a few, of course, Messi and Ronaldo, can't go past either of those guys. They've been at the top for a long time. They have consistently been the best at the top for a long time, and they've left long-lasting legacies on football. To me, the only thing I'd add in terms of what you said, Robbie, with consistency and longevity, I think it's about leaving a legacy as well. What I mean by legacy, I'm sure we'll unpack a little bit. But RJ, tell us, man, what makes a world-class player? Because Chelsea have signed about 25 of them this window.
Well, that's it. We're a world-class club, world-class players. Not in a world-class situation, obviously. But look, I think what you're thinking about are world-class players that have done it over a long period of time. I don't necessarily agree that longevity and consistency is what makes you world-class. World-class is excellence. It makes you outstanding. It makes you being elite. It makes you being one of the best in your position, a standout contributor. It doesn't matter if you do it over a short period or a long period. You are the best at what you do. That is world-class to me. For example, I could win a Champions League and I could be the player of the tournament and a World Cup. I could win a Ballon d'Or for a season or two, and then I could fall off the face of the planet. But I was the best at what I did, or I made the top 11, the world 11. I'm a world-class player at that moment in time. So for me, again, world-class players can have a prolonged period of greatness, which Messi and Ronaldo have, for example, Thierry Henry, Frank Lampard, Scholes, Rooney, blah, blah, blah. But I don't necessarily think it's based on tenure. So that's for me. Talent is a big thing.
Robbie, what do you think about that? RJ saying it doesn't really matter if it's 6 months, 6 years. If you're the best, you're the best.
Oh, look, I take his point. At that time, you are world class, which I can't really argue. If you do win a Ballon d'Or at the time, you're the best player in the world, so you'd have to be put up in that category. But like I said, for me, I still can't put. I'm going to say Modric, for example. He's won a Ballon d'Or and he's been quite consistently over a long amount of time. But I still can't put him in that Zidane elite group. For me, Zidane would be world class, and it's not nothing to say against Luka Modric. Who, again, I think he's a very, very good player, and again, he's been probably world class when he did, finally get that Ballon d'Or. But for me, again, with Zidane, I just think an elite player with talent, as you said, RJ. He's got the skill set, leadership. Played for some of the biggest clubs in the world. Internationally delivered, I think that's a big one as well, and obviously got the big, won big trophies as well. So for me, it ticks all the boxes. Someone like a Zidane. So again, a flash in the pan, world class, or someone like a Zidane who ticks all the boxes for me.
Now, you mentioned trophies there, right? I think about Luka Modric. He's the pride of Croatia, yeah, and you can tell the guy loves playing for his country. He hasn't won a major international trophy. If he'd have been born French or Brazilian, he has won one by now. But the impact he's had on that Croatian team, for me, I would say Modric is world class. Certainly, he's been at the top Europe's elite for a very long time. Real Madrid, wouldn't say Spurs. He's consistently been performing well above. Certainly got longevity. In terms of internationally, what he's been able to do with his Croatian teammates relative to their size, money, all of that, I would put him in the world class bracket because to me, I don't like the thing about trophies meaning you're world class because there might be players. Let's say Modric again. He was born Croatian. He's proud of his country, but he'd probably have an international trophy if he was French by now. I just don't think that's right. I look at Harry Kane as a modern day player. All jokes aside, boys, because I want to talk about him for a sec. He has been consistently breaking goal scoring records in the top 1 or 2 goal scorers of the Premier League for a very long time. People still say, though, he's not world class because he hasn't won trophies. I think he's absolutely world class. He's just got really bad taste in clubs. How important are trophies to being world class, RJ?
Well, I think you need to define trophies here because, again, world class
He's won an Audi Cup.
is or of among the best in the world, right? So individuals in a team construct don't always have to be or get the benefit of winning. Like you said, Modric played in Croatia. He may or may not have won it in Brazil or Spain or whatever. We'll never know. Players can't choose where they're born or even the clubs they play for to an extent. It's just how it works. But for players like Harry Kane, I'd turn around because, first of all, I think he is world class because he's dominated the Premier League for a very long time. And he has the benefit of dominating, but for a long period of time. His team hasn't won, but he's broken individual records. He's won golden boots. He has won trophies for an individual contribution. So I think trophies, when used as defining someone being world class collectively, I think is wrong. But I think individual players that win individual awards, that is a testament or a point of data that supports that they're world class. Like a Ballon d'Or, you could win a Ballon d'Or, never win a team trophy. You're clearly world class. You were voted the best player in the world just because your team didn't win. So that argument of trophies in a team setup doesn't hold up for me.
Robbie, what do you think about that? Are team trophies important, or is it just about individual accolades?
Look, again, I'm sure we can name a long list of players that have a CV of trophies like this, and they're nowhere near Thomas Vermaelen is going to come to me. I'm pretty sure he's got
definitely world class.
He's got a treble to his name, and I'm pretty sure he barely has any minutes in that whole campaign when they won it as well. So yeah, look, again, in that aspect, you can't say he's done nothing in to support winning any trophies or help the team to win any trophies. He's just been a part of a group that's won it. Look, what can I say? Like Harry Kane, again, for me, is world class. Like I said, consistency, longevity. If he signed for City last year, he would have had the trophies to go with his CV as well. So for me, he definitely is world class. I'm just trying to think of other players like to kind of.
Can I ask you about one, Robbie? Can I ask you about a player, Matt Letizia? Okay, obviously going back to our young days, didn't from the top of my head win any major trophies, but stayed with Southampton. Loyal. Does loyalty play a part in that? Because I mentioned legacy before. To me, a world-class player leaves a legacy. They're well remembered. They're remembered well past their time. Southampton fans talk about him still, but he paid the price for not taking a move to a bigger club. Does that tarnish his legacy or his status?
It's a different status that goes in the legendary, or maybe for that club's legendary status. I wouldn't say that's world class because there's a lot of players out there. Gareth Barry, what's he? The most capped player. What was it? 600 appearances. For me, not even close to world class. But again, loyalty, and he's a legend in his own right. and he's broken, I know, a lot of records as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's a different status. Like I said, legendary status is one thing, and world class, like you said, it ticks all the boxes. That goes into its own elite category.
RJ, question for you. Not taking the piss. That word world class has been bandied about. I want to use Enzo Fernandez as an example because he's really recent and the price tag was quite big. Coming off the back of a great World Cup campaign, he's been bandied about as a world class signing for Chelsea. One thing that really grinds my gears, whether it's Chelsea, Arsenal, whoever, I feel like price tags, if they're high, are being used to say that a player is world class. And I think Fernandez is an example of that. I wouldn't call him world class yet,
100%.
but he's been given that title because of the fee they paid and his recent form. Do you think that price tags play a part in modern society with players being labelled world class?
Yeah, naturally they're not always mutually exclusive. You don't spend lots of money on terrible players, but at the time you bought them because that's just not logical. But Fernandez was listed as a world-class prospect, and when players say they're ready-made world-class players, that's just a bit of hyperbole, just to drum up the clickbaiting and all of that. At this stage right now, is he a world-class player in my opinion? Not yet. Like you said, he is a great player demonstrating the kind of form that gets you to that world-class status. He won the young player of the tournament in a World Cup winning team. He was statistically the best player in Portugal at Benfica, and now he's come over in his first game and he's had a pretty good game for Chelsea. These are building blocks to getting you to world class. I think, for example, if Chelsea somehow miraculously won the Champions League and he goes on a killer run that backs up his World Cup winning title, and off the back of what he done as Benfica, I could argue that especially if he makes the Champions League team of the season and he's the star midfielder, I would argue at that point in time he's playing like a world-class midfielder because of what he's achieved in that short space of time. But as it stands, no. And to your first question about money, 100% that influences people's thinking.
Fair shout. And I think you used some interesting words there. You said playing like a world-class player. I think there's a slight subtle difference.
Yep.
Your form, short-term form for me, means you can be playing like a world-class player, but I don't think you are a world-class player till it's happened a bit longer. I'll give you just one more example from me. Jorginho won the Euros, was in the team, shortlisted for the Ballon d'Or, great campaign with Chelsea, but I still would at no point have called him, I don't think he was a world-class player. That legacy was missing from Jorginho. I don't think he's someone Chelsea fans will talk about in 5 or 10 years for anything positive. Robbie, you've heard...
Yeah, I think that's a great example. Jorginho. Just again, we'll take this. Just say Jorginho did win the Ballon d'Or last year. I think he came second or third, whatever it was. Again, he had that one amazing season. He had the trophies to back it up, the Champions League, the Euros. So he covered both club and country. Again, he had an amazing season. And if he was to have won, we could have said he was the best player in his position. He still wouldn't have got that world-class status from me. And that's why, for me, that's why I can't say, you can't put Jorginho, if he did win at that time, on your Frank Lampards, your Vieiras, and your Scholes.
But I think we're conflating the two, aren't we? Like, are we conflating the top of the best, like icons and legends of the game versus world class? Like, are we using the term world class in the right way? Because, like, you brought up Modric, and I was thinking of players like Andrea Pirlo. To me, he was never the number one player. But he, to me, over his course of the career, I thought the way he played the game, along with Xavi, Iniesta, these players were world class in my opinion.
They're world class to me.
But they're not the best of their position. But for a long period of time, they'll ride in that conversation, even if they weren't at the very top.
But that's why they're world class.
Like Jorginho, if he won Ballon d'Or, by definition, he was the best in the world. So how can you not be world class at that point in time?
It's about the length. for me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's where
man.
you're coming from.
But and
Yeah,
like I said,
fair enough.
Pillow again, like what is it? Again, we're not adding the thing, but he done it consistently at top clubs against at the time as well. The best players in the world. If you look at the competition back then as well, and he's still got the accolades to his name, a World Cup. He's still got 2 Champions Leagues. He's still got Scudettos and league titles to his name. So he's covered everything for me. And again, a consistent player over longevity. Whoever went into his late 30s. So for me, again, he's a world-class player. I just don't like how we came back to the world-class prospect, how it gets thrown. He's world-class. For me, you've got to earn that status, world-class. Like you said, I think you said it well, RJ. You're playing at a world-class level. That doesn't mean that you're a world-class player, in my opinion. That's because for me, you've got to tick a lot of the boxes. And again, we go back to all these new players that have a bit of an amazing season and at a smaller club in Europe and so on throws, that's how much inflation is. $100 million doesn't make you, shouldn't give you a FIFA rating of 70 to 90 in like just because you've been bought for $100 million. And that's what happens these days. Players that don't go to your big clubs or don't get, a massive transfer fee, they can be just as good as someone else. Again, they're just being bought like a Mudryk. I'm sure there's a lot of other players out there that are probably better than him or have a better CV than him at the moment and have a prospect as well. But he's not world-class or not even in the conversation for world-class. And for me to even say prospect, I think that's even pushing it. Because for me, he hasn't lit up another big league. He hasn't done anything special to even be in the conversation. He's come to a big league now. He's come to a big team now. If he can go for the next 5 years and be like a Salah, for instance, for me, Salah's been world class in the last 5 years. Consistency in one of the best leagues in the world. Scored goals. He's got the trophies to back it up. He's been a big player on the pitch. For me, that's a world class player. I can put him in the world class category now. So, like I said, I agree with you guys how you split it. I really actually like how you split it in different little sections, but I just don't like it how I think it's disrespectful for the players and legends that we grew up with.
All right, RJ, do you want to wrap up your thoughts on this before we close this one down?
Yeah, well, I want to get your opinion on this, and I'll give you my final thought. Is Kylian Mbappe world class?
I'm going to say yes.
At his tender age and hasn't had longevity yet.
Well, he's been playing since he was 17, so it's 5 years.
But not achieved.
He won with Monaco in the French league after it's been dominated from PSG. He got his big move to PSG. He's made a Champions League final. He won the World Cup and was, I think he even got young player of the World Cup and was in the team of the season as well. So he's already covered that. He was just in another World Cup final, so he could have been up to nearly Pele status of winning the World Cup, and again was an integral part of that. I think he's nearly got everything. He's in a league that he's won. You nearly get handed it, but we can say the same for Messi and Ronaldo in that department because it's Barcelona and Real Madrid, a two-legged race in the Liga for all those years as well. So I think he's in the same category as that. Or again, Bayern Munich when you have your Lewandowski. For me, he's another world-class player, but at the best team that's in a two-legged race that dominated. So he's going to get the accolades that come with it. So for me, Kylian Mbappe ticks every box for me as a world-class player.
For me too. Well, he's been around a while. He's not a one-season wonder. He's not a one-season wonder at international level and at a domestic club level. He's consistently been amongst the best players since he burst onto the scene. It's not a one-season thing. And I think sometimes players have one good season or one good campaign, their price tag gets ridiculous, and then they're carrying this world-class tag for the rest of their career. So Mbappe certainly ticks the boxes. 5 years at the top, has them honours. I don't think they're compulsory, but he has them. Has broken records, has done all those things. He's world-class.
Well, I think he was world-class because he demonstrated his world-class from the beginning, and it hasn't been 5 full years of top flight demonstrating it. Those youth things, there's a lot of top good young players that have dominated in youth, but his actual first-grade contribution coming in and doing what he's been doing, I would say he hasn't been doing it for the same length of time that all of these other icons and legends we've been talking about. So again, for me, the longevity argument is not the crucial point here. He has had enough demonstrated history, and he will be an absolute superstar when he finishes up. But look, boys, I think this has been a great discussion. I'm not sure if I'm more confused or less confused on what world class is. All I know is this was a world class discussion. I think we can say that.
I agree. I got one more question for you. Just throwing it back
Sure.
on the Mbappe thing. If he's not world class, is he a world class prospect? And if you're putting him as a world class prospect against a Fernandez who's a world class prospect, I think he's light years away at the moment.
For me, he's world class player because he was world class
okay.
the moment he won the World Cup. Because I saw enough of him that made me think this guy is one of the best in his position in the world right now. So that's my point of view.
Okay, well, for all of you watching, RJ doesn't believe longevity is important in the world-class debate. We've talked about world-class prospects. Robbie and I seem to be a little bit more in sync, which is quite rare. But you let us know, most importantly, what you think. Drop a world-class player in the comments. Let us know what world-class means to you. Maybe you can share your views on the Harry Kane, Mbappe, Fernandez examples that we've talked about. We will be back with a predictions video in the next couple of days, so make sure you check the channel for that. Until then, take care, enjoy your football, and most importantly, keep it classy, world classy.
Love it.